Hello, I'm Joel.
And I'm Alex.
Welcome to the Commander's Journey, the place where we discuss our favorite format of Magic, Commander, from the perspective of a new player
And an experienced one.
This journey is for new Magic players who are interested in Commander. We got a really awesome episode we want to get to tonight.
Very exciting stuff.
Super stoked, and if you haven't been in the Commander sphere for like a few minutes, then you're probably missing out. But hopefully you'll hear it from us. But before that, man, I'm downing this Red Bull now. I'm tired. Worked all week, but you know what? Going to work every day, commuting, that's tiring. But you know what's really exhausting? Having three awesome little boys. I have three boys, a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 10-month-old, and just playing with them all day. So since 6:45 this morning, my 10-month-old woke up, sat up straight up, and was like, let's play. All day, take the older one to Kung Fu, go get some food afterwards, go to the park, 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, finally get back home, try and take a little nap. Hanging out with the kids for 8 hours, I swear, it feels like working a 16-hour day at my job.
Oh, there you go. I don't have kids, so I wouldn't know.
But it's awesome, and it's a lot of fun. What did you do with your Saturday, by the way, Alex?
I did not do nearly as much as you did. I slept in. Well, why isn't this a world of difference? I look like a jack,
No, that's why I'm asking.
I slept in.
I can like vicariously live off of your sleeping in.
I mean, like, the most exciting thing I think today, I went to I'm trying to get my gym regiment back in, and I did a while at the gym, and then really I just did gym and some chores, some laundry. Not a very exciting day for me on my end.
Oh, that reminds me, I got to do my laundry after this.
Oh God,
that's the dad life. I got to do laundry up until midnight.
I don't know. That seems the scariest part to having kids is like how exhausted.
But it is the most rewarding thing in life. I'll tell you.
That's what's really important.
Yeah, and it's freaking awesome. My 7-year-old's becoming a little Kung Fu master. The school he goes to is excellent. Anyway, let's get back to Commander. We're so stoked, Alex and I.
Oh yeah. So for those of you who don't know, the Command Zone, which seems to be now the new official way Wizards is releasing stuff for Commander, which I'm pretty excited about. They've earned it, definitely. They are definitely the premier Commander podcast. They were the first real big one on the scene. So they definitely, and their quality, their stuff is so good. So it makes total sense to me that Wizards just now going through them. But they announced all the new releases for 2020 for the Commander players, and boy, is there a lot.
Oh my goodness. And after you listen to us hyping about it and just talking about it, you should go check out that announcement if you haven't heard it already. But if you're anywhere near Commander or Magic, you probably heard that they're blowing it up this year, right? 2020, they're blowing it up.
We've been saying that's the most popular format now, and I don't know what proves it more than this. Holy cow.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. So, it's definitely our favorite format. I think the best format, and it's just, I'm a brand new player. This podcast, by the way, as we kind of mentioned at the top of it, is for brand new players. And so we kind of want to talk about all this hype from that perspective. I want to give my perspective on it, just being new to the format, new to the game.
Exactly. So let's start with, what we definitely do know, because they were a little vague with some of this. Let's talk about that right out of the gate. The first one is the Ikoria Commander product, which is 5 decks out on April 24th
of 2020
for Commander that coincides with the release of Ikoria, the set.
That's awesome. The fact that we're getting Commander decks that correspond with the sets when they come out.
And that seems to be the biggest takeaway, in my opinion, from here in terms of maybe the plan going forward. Is that they might be something that goes along with it from now. And this seems to be the equivalency for, Commander 2019, 18, all the yearly set releases. This is the equivalent one. We got 5 sets coming out with this release.
It's pretty awesome. So Ikoria is coming out April 24th, and then we know the next one comes in the third quarter, right?
Yes. The next one they say is next will coincide with the set Zendikar Rising. It's going to be 2 commander decks that more coincide with the set themselves. They said, I assume some of the Ikoria ones will as well, but this is supposed to be something that's coincides along with Zendikar Rising. It's just 2 decks.
So with the Zendikar Rising set, then we're getting 2 decks as well.
Right along with it.
Specifically for Commander.
And they did say it is playable on pre-release weekend. So the weekend when, by the way, I think pre-release is fantastic.
Yes.
Definitely how I've stayed in touch with the game before I got into Commander, and then you can get a Commander deck when you go.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
That's, oh my God. If you haven't done a pre-release, and I know maybe a lot of Commander players, if you've only done that, you might not have done. But when I first got into Magic, I went to a pre-release. If you haven't, though, Zendikar Rising is the pre-release you want to go to.
Oh, exactly. And they may have been doing it with Ikoria, too. I don't know. I just remember them specifically saying Zendikar Rising. Ikoria, they might not. But, again, could be.
Yep.
Who knows?
And then also in quarter 3, we're getting Commander Collection Green, right? So we're hoping for, and I think they kind of tease and mention, some reprints, some new art. So if nothing else, like I'm looking at this as a new player, and Ikoria, Zendikar, I know they've released Zendikar decks before. I don't have a lot of history playing with those. Ikoria is a new one, but with Commander Collection Green in the 3rd quarter, I feel like we're probably going to get a lot of value as far as staples in green. So it's probably going to be the best bang for your buck.
I'm thinking of this like they've done recently, the Jace's Spellbook or Gideon's Spellbook. It's 8 cards, they said, all reprints with all new art. I'm getting that vibe from it. That they will be taking that slot up.
Well, even if they get just one really good reprint or like staple in there, and you can get it in foil or in some it's gonna be pretty cool.
Well, it's gonna be fantastic. And again, in theory, this should be aiming towards Commander players, so we should see some of this.
And the most exciting thing to get hyped about is the end of the year in the 4th quarter, right?
So the new set. Actually, there's a main set. There's 2 Commander decks that go with that main set as well, just like Zendikar Rising, and then a specific Commander set coming out.
My goodness. And they call it Commander Legends.
So this is supposed to be a draftable Commander set. I'm a little curious to what exactly that's going to mean, but it sounds like maybe you're building a Commander deck, maybe something a little more in between. I don't know, but it's supposed to be a draftable Commander set. That just might be a Commander set that's a lot of stuff for Commander players that you also draft, or it could be a specific draft format like they did with Battle Bond or Conspiracy sets, but this is more Commander focused.
That's going to be nuts. So again, if you haven't been paying attention, 2020 is going to be Christmas all year long for Commander players. It's going to be nuts this year. So if you're a brand new player and you're just starting and you don't quite know where to spend your money, I want to talk a little bit about that. You got all this stuff happening. We just had C19, Commander 19 with 4 really good decks. We're releasing, I think next week, we're releasing an episode on how to build a deck or what to do. And one of the things we talk about is just getting a pre-con deck, because Wizards of the Coast does an incredible job building these decks. And if you're not used to playing the format of Commander, especially if you're not used to playing Magic, start with a pre-con deck. This year, you're going to have the option to buy so many decks, pre-con decks. So if that's where you're starting, I think do that. Buy one deck. See something that you really like, buy it. Don't go crazy. Don't go buy a bunch of stuff. Buy a deck or 2 and see if there's commanders or things that interest you. Get your head wrapped around that. Enjoy that before you decide on that. So with maybe Ikoria and this Commander product come up, the C19 stuff, you haven't bought that yet, and maybe it's not as interesting to you to play with some of those, to play with Girid or to play with some of the other commanders that they put out. Wait till April 24th and pick up 1 or 2 of those. And then as the year goes on, you'll, I think, have a better idea of picking up more products. And
you tell me if I'm a little stray here. You know better than I do, Joel. But, I'm looking at this, and if I'm thinking from the perspective of a new Commander player, and even as an experience when I'm going to do something similar, there's so much stuff coming out. Maybe there's a single I want here and there, but really what I'm going to be looking at is what Commander speaks to me. So I'm going to wait till I see that Commander that goes, oh, that's really interesting, or oh, I think I want to build that or work with that and go from there. Are you thinking that's a smart, wise move?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think the number one thing is enjoying the game. At least, again, I just started this year in February, and I've dove in head first. And the more and more I play, the more I realize what I like. But I think that's definitely where you start. If there's a commander or something that piques your interest, or something you think or you like, start there. Don't go crazy and buy all this. There's going to be so much to buy this year. You want to save your pocketbook. Now, if your pocketbook is endless, buy everything.
Yeah.
Go nuts. But if you're like me and you got to be a little bit, reasonable, just go after those ones that pique your interest.
Exactly. And I think, too, when you look at the Commander collection green, that's going to really depend on what reprints are in it. If it's worth picking up that, I would assume good, but of course, just because it's aimed at us, I would assume it's some needed Commander reprints. But that's just might be wishful thinking. I don't know, but I think especially Commander Legends will be at least everyone wants a couple packs of that.
Yeah. So don't waste all your money in quarters 1, 2, and 3 when in quarter 4 at the end of the year. You got Commander Legends coming out. You're going to want to buy a few things then.
It'll be exciting. So I'm going to now dive wildly into speculation land. So this is all speculation.
Yes.
Deep diving in. This isn't something I normally.
Well, that's all we can do, right?
Yeah.
That's all the information. We don't have any.
No, we're running blind, and let's keep on continue around the fight. I'm hoping I look back on this after I say what I'm going to say and be like, oh, I was down the money, and not like, wow, I was off. But this is that moment to make that mistake.
Everybody can make a guess. People guess all the time. I watch a lot of sports, and there's always these people making presumptions about a team or about something, and I think, this to go way off. I'm a 49er fan. I live in the Bay Area, and they've been winning this year, by the way. They're 8-0. It's pretty freaking awesome because they've been terrible for a while. And I think there was an article I just read the other day where the guy was trying to, when they were 7-0, basically saying, yep, they're not going to go 8-0 and hampering on them. And he actually wrote another article to be like, let me back up. This is the first time I've ever decided to write an article and say, I was wrong. So even in command or anything you're guessing or speculating about, you could be wrong. It's okay. We're making wild guesses.
I wholeheartedly expect to be wrong, but let's dive in. So from listening to the episode, and trying to really suss out the vibe of Gavin Verhey, who was the Wizards employee who was there to announce it with them, Josh and Jimmy, it sounded like they're trying to tie the Commander products more in, like these decks, more in with the set that comes out. So there are 5 decks in Ikoria. They specifically brought up some archetypes that are going to go with it. Now, I expect at least 1 or 2 of them is going to be related to the Ikoria set itself. My assumption for the other 3, and this is a shot in the dark, they talked about energy specifically. Energy's mechanic from Kaladesh, which about I feel it's like, is it 2-3 years old now? I don't remember, but it's a mechanic from that makes you make energy counters and you get to spend them as an alternative resource pretty much to mana. My assumption is there's going to be a deck on that. And then we had talked in our Throne of Eldraine episode, and this might be more wishful thinking, but a food deck maybe, question mark?
That would be interesting. So the energy deck, is that more like the Aetherflux Reservoir kind of?
Yes, Aetherflux Reservoir is from that set as well. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a lot of artifacts, and energy was one of the main mechanics that it probably was the most main mechanic, that it was an alternative resource. It was a new type of card types, but there wasn't enough cards printed to make an energy deck. So
I know Aetherflux is already probably expensive, but maybe you pick 1 or 2 up?
No. I don't trust that prediction even well enough to do any sort of financial guesses with this. This is...
No, I'm just saying for yourself, if you... Well,
it might not be bad either way, but
It's a good card. And so food, that would be interesting, because we were talking with the Throne of Eldraine, there's a bunch of new cool things, this new token, food token, cool things, especially in black and green, that you can do with food. And the other colors too, but those especially.
It just makes sense to me that is one of the more premier mechanics that just came out, and if they were going to build a deck with that in mind from Eldraine, like with an Eldraine mechanic, the one that I would assume they would use is food tokens. Could be wrong, but again, that's a guess.
Hey, since we're wildly guessing, and
let's just wildly guess.
I have I don't have a lot of background in Magic as far as knowing all these sets from the past, but You know, a lot of the different commanders they've given us, they've given us over the last few years have either been legendary creatures, but they've occasionally had a few planeswalkers in there. Do you think we're going to see any planeswalkers this year? Since there's so many, I mean, you never know. That's a wild guess.
That's a good question. For those of you who cannot, of course, it's not a video version of this. I am staring off into space, stumped. I could not tell you, Joel. They could all be planeswalkers. None of them could. I'm going to be honest. My guess is it's going to depend on how Brawl is. If they're Brawl legal, if it has to do with how Brawl's playing out, that would be the guess. But again, I don't know. That's just the only thing I can grasp at, even sort of. Shot in the dark on what the third deck set will be. Something to do with Theros Beyond Death. Yeah. It could be something related to enchantments. Would be a Shot in the Dark or a Devotion deck. I don't know.
Well, with Zendikar, what kind of stuff would we expect maybe to see there? Maybe a guess or two.
I can almost guarantee you that one of the decks would be Land-based, whether that has to do with a new mechanic or landfall or another mechanic. I couldn't tell you, but I would be very, very surprised if we didn't at least have one land-based deck as one of those two commander decks.
That would be, there you go. I've always wanted to have a land-based. That's something, as a new player, it's hard to get my head. I do like the landfall, like the ETB landfall type triggers. That's been fun in some decks. But yeah, a lands matter deck, that would be
You know, lands is one of those mechanics that I think is just always fun, because there's never a deck that it's good to have lands in. You're not feeling bad when you draw lands in the late game, which is a really good feeling to have. You know, it really breaks the mold, and it's kind of nice.
Well, it's because you're using one of your most powerful resources, mana, but you're also using it to do other things, which is cool.
Well, exactly. It's something you want to be doing anyways, and now you're really getting rewarded for that.
Okay. Any other wild guesses?
So the only other thing, I don't have any other wild guesses. We could talk maybe about the art for Commander Collection Green. They spoiled some art with it about what the spells could be. I'm going to be honest, I couldn't figure out what I thought they might be. I could see it go any direction about what the ones could be. I know there's one. They're all, just so everyone knows, they're all supposed to be commanders casting some spells. It's Yisan, the Wandering Bard, which is it's obviously a green spell. For those of you who can't see the art, it looks like he has his harp. He's playing the harp. It's doing something to some creatures, whether it's summoning them or controlling them or enchanting
or something.
I couldn't tell you. There's a number of creatures. I mean,
got a boar.
Yeah.
Some sort of another boar.
Yeah, 2 boars. It looks like a beast and a worm.
Yeah, it is a worm, huh?
Yes.
There you go.
But I couldn't tell you what that spell was. I'd like them to do something maybe related to that harp. Maybe a Chord of Calling. I mean, that's speculation heavily. Holy cow. And then...
Yep. Is Yisan somebody we've seen before, and has he done other things?
Yeah. So let's actually talk about the Yisan card. The card itself is Yisan the Wanderer Bard. It's a 2 and a green for a legendary creature human rogue. That is a 2/3, and it says 2 and a green tap. Put a verse counter on Yisan the Wandering Bard. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to the number of verse counters on Yisan. Put it onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. Again, I couldn't tell you if maybe it has something to do with it. Maybe it's music themed. Maybe it's based more on the effect. I don't know.
Again, it's just a tease, right? They're just showing us the art. Yeah.
It does help the juices, flow. It's just, it gets you going.
We're all stoked on that.
And then this other one is something that's Kamigawa themed. They said specifically this is a Kamigawa creature that was not originally from Kamigawa, is the hint. And you'll notice that Azusa Lost But Seeking, her headpiece on there, which they talked about in that video as well.
That they match up. Azusa Lost But Seeking is 2 and a green for legendary creature human monk. It says you may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns, and it's a 1/2.
And so maybe a creature that lets you play more lands. It looks like a creature to me, a plant of some sort.
Or maybe you were talking about having land-based type deck. Maybe it goes somewhere in there. You never know.
Well, I would hope it would go maybe in there. This is a reprint, so I couldn't tell you. I was hoping that maybe you had all the answers, Joel.
I have zero answers. You know that.
You know.
But we're
you know, sometimes a new player perspective can really be like, oh, doesn't that look like this? And that's like the card and I'm like, holy, you know what? That's what it is. I was really hoping for that, Joel.
Yeah, no, it's just, to me, it looks like a really freaking awesome plant.
It was an unrealistic expectation. I apologize.
Yes, no, we're stoked on this, and we want just everybody to know how stoked we are. And again, if you haven't seen the spoiler and seen Gavin talk about it with Jimmy and Josh, go check that out and get stoked yourself. But don't spend all your money in one place. You got all year to buy all this stuff. So, spread it out. Spread out the love.
I think so, too. And I think, too, for that quarter 4 one, it's going to depend on what that set might be. I don't think they've given us any hints either way to what that's going to end up being. I honestly, I'm curious to where we'll end up. I'm kind of hoping, since we have a reprint set right before that, we'll go back to a new plane again. But I don't know.
Well, yeah, we just wanted to get everybody hyped up on this as we are and talk about it. So Ikoria, Zendikar, Commander Legends, Commander Collection Green, all the stuff coming out this year. That's a total of how many? 5, 6, 7? Is that 9 decks?
Yes.
9 Commander decks. And then also the Commander Collection Green, whatever those end up being, and a main set.
Well, I don't think it's a main. I think it's a supplemental set.
Is it a supplemental?
Still, they said 70 new Commander. I don't know, reprints or Commander cards. Or maybe that was the reprints for the decks. I apologize. I think that was it.
Well,
for these first 5 from Ikoria, 70 new cards. But a Commander Legends, I assume they're going to give us a lot more legendary creatures, and
that's the big one.
Yeah, that'll be the one.
And that's the one Gavin seemed most stoked about. He's been working on for a long time. So
I mean, I'm personally a big fan when they, I'm not even a big Vorthos, which is a big lore guy for the magic lore, but there's still some characters that I know don't have cards that I would personally like to see as cards, and I'm sure there's a lot more deep dives than I possibly know about. So I'm hoping everyone kind of gets what they're looking for out of Commander Legends.
That will be awesome. Well, that's going to do it for this week. We hope everybody's as we know everybody's as excited as we are. Make sure you subscribe. Keep listening. We like to do a lot of episodes where we just talk about budget cards. We talk about basics and how you can get into playing the game. So anybody new to Commander, shoot them our way or keep listening.
See you next time.
All right. See you.